All right, boys, there's a trend going on TikTok right now that we have to talk about. And Scott, this is like right up your alley. I don't know how I got on this algorithm, but apparently kids are watching 80s and 90s NBA games on YouTube
Oh,
and then talking about how trash the NBA in the 90s was. They put up like even games with Jordan where they're like, why is nobody playing defense? There's not even a hand in Scottie Pippen's face. Here's Luke Longley shooting a layup instead of taking it to the hole and dunking. Like just ripping on the quality of basketball in the 90s. Scott, I know where you stand on the debate. I know how you feel about Michael Jordan, but these kids saying, well, let's put it this way: basketball in the 90s, fire or dumpster fire.
Fire's fuck. It was the last time basketball was actually played correctly. Like, I don't want to be. Look, I'm not old man. Like, I'm not beating my fist on the table about it. I don't play defense and yada yada yada, and it's not physical. Like, I don't have time for that type of unbridled nostalgia. But it's a different game, and I mean, if it's not your brand of basketball, that's fine. But it's definitely different. And it was more physical, and they did play more defense. I mean, the idea that you would say that, they're not playing defense compared to today's game is just patently absurd.
It's not necessarily that they weren't playing any defense. It's that they were playing bad defense. Like the one that I saw, Scottie Pippen was taking these 3-pointers and Gary Payton didn't even put a hand in his face. Like did nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you could find bad highlights in any era of whatever
this
you're
isn't like
looking
an
for.
NBA Finals game. This isn't in any other game. Like this isn't a regular season game.
It was doctored. Like, the glove. It's called the glove. Like, is there anybody today called the glove because they play lockdown D? No, so shut the fuck up. Like, there's not even defensive specialists in today's NBA because that's not a thing. Like, there were defensive specialists. Ask them to go watch some Charles Oakley highlights and see if he plays defense.
Okay,
ask them if Charles Oakley plays D.
Here's the thing, guys. We have lived to see the next generation shit on what we grew up with. Like
and I say fuck them.
I agree with you absolutely, man, because it's bullshit. Like I heard about this and I was listening on the radio. It's like, this is stupid. This is a stupid conversation. And sure, you could cherry pick.
Is it though? Is it stupid? Sorry. And here's why.
Sorry, Mr. COVID is a specialist.
Dude, he got hit with $100,000 fine. Rudy Gobert, did you see that? $100,000.
Yeah, I did see this.
Games.
He's crazy, but again, that's why he's a defensive specialist, because he's.
I enjoy referring to him as Mr. COVID, though.
That's fantastic.
That's well done.
Oh man, spot on.
But I don't think Mookie. I don't think it's that crazy that this is a thing, because think about just recently there was that big dust up when JJ Redick said that guys like Bob Cousy played against plumbers or like whatever. Like it is natural to just look at the game from years past and be like, that was shitty. Like that was terrible. It was bad. Like you look back to like 60s and 70s basketball and you're like, all they do is chest pass. What the fuck is this? Why do they all have short shorts, tall socks, and they're just chest passing? Somebody fucking
bring back the peach baskets.
Yeah, it's like you watch those leagues and then it's like, no wonder why Magic was so amazing, because he fucking didn't just go, here you go. Here, like he wasn't a goddamn fucking training video on how to pass the ball in basketball. Like he just had style and flair, and people were like, what the fuck? You're allowed to do that shit? Did you see that? He put it behind his back first. This is crazy shit. So it's like every generation has an inflection point where you look at the previous generation's basketball and you go, it was actually kind of shitty. Like this wasn't a good game to watch. It was kind of insane. And the generation that grew up there holds on so fucking tight. And they're like, no, it's changed. It's just changed. It's not the same game anymore. What we had was pure. What we had was great. And we're at that point now, Scott. We're the boomers. We're hanging on as much as we
Nah, man,
can.
fuck you. I ain't no fucking boomer. Get out of here with that shit.
If
Like
you're
you
defending
need it.
90s basketball,
I'm not defending it.
you're
I'm
a
just
boomer in this.
saying, like, it was trash. It was shit. Is wrong. Like, yes, today's game is more advanced, more sophisticated, fair. But at the same time, I do think the way the game was played back then was different, and it doesn't make it trash. I think
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was like, there's a line that I understand where you're just like shitting on it for no reason, and it's fine. Like, if you grow up watching it a certain way, I totally get why you would look at it and be like, that's boring. Like, I didn't see it. But to just say, oh, it's trash, or they're not doing this or not doing that, it's like, no, it's just a different game. Kind of funny that you mentioned this, because I was just sitting there thinking about it the other day about how when we grew up watching baseball, you didn't have a bunch of guys throwing 100 miles an hour. And Tommy John was like, oh man, a thing, right? But like now, Tommy John, I told my brother this afternoon when there's the rumors that maybe Garrett Cole needs Tommy John. And I was like, I learned today that Garrett Cole has never had Tommy John. And my first thought was, what the fuck? How has he reached this age and not have Tommy John? Like, you just assume everybody who makes it to a certain point in baseball has had Tommy John, because a lot of these guys have had it before they're a household name. But it's just a different game. Like, it's not that I like baseball more now or less. It's just like the game's changed, and I like both versions. Like, there's a place for all versions, I kind of guess. I mean, now basketball in the 70s and shit, nah, ain't nobody got time for that slow ass shit where there's one black guy in the court and a bunch of white guys standing around
right.
Like,
and I think that's the line to me to draw.
Yeah,
right? When it became a true professional sport, not just when we let everyone play, because that's another part of it that drives me nuts with baseball. Of Babe Ruth was so good. It's like, well, he's playing against.
Oh no, I'm totally with you. Right? No, I'm totally with you. Like, anytime before everybody could play, it's like, that was a completely different game. Like, there's not even, you can't even really compare that to anything.
Right? Like the 90s, they were still professionals. They weren't playing against plumbers. So again, like that to me is why it's not trash, and it just seems short-sighted to have that take, right? Honestly, like all right, so let me ask you this. You take the Warriors, the back-to-back Warriors, you put them against one of Jordan's Bulls. If you put them in the 90s style rules, Bulls win hands down. If you put the Bulls in the Warriors set of rules, Warriors win hands down, right?
I don't know.
I mean, doesn't that what it kind of...
No, because what use is Dennis Rodman cracking skulls underneath when Steph Curry's pulling up from the logo? Like, you put the Warriors in the 90s, and the defense is going, what the fuck? They're allowed to do that? Why are they getting 3 points every time? This is bullshit. Like,
no, but see, like, I don't think I hear what you're saying. I don't think it would go down like that though. Like, because I think the Bulls on offense would wear them down in a way that I think they could come out and push that line higher up the court to defend that 3.
They don't have to worry about it. They're like, go ahead, take the layup. We're getting 3 every time down this side. You're taking 2. We're just gonna start pulling away. Like, this is a different. It's a look,
well, and going to an even different, like, fundamental level. Like, I just think that today, like, every generation, like, they're just better athletes. So, like, while it might be fun to watch that happen, it's like I'd be sitting there watching as, like, it was only Jordan who wasn't gassed. Like, think about the rest of the squad who's just sitting there, like, chasing around these guys, even trying to defend them for the entire game. Like, no matter what rules they're playing against, those Bulls are getting torched. And Jordan's, like, there's certain players that could overlap eras or, transcend whatever it is and do, like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, well, no, no matter what, Jordan would be the superstar that he was then, that he, today as he was then. But there's definitely, like, a hierarchy when it comes to that shit, where there's some guys who would still be able to play in today's games, or at least be competent, where you're just like, well, you're using Luke Longley. It's like, Luke Longley wouldn't have any plays. He would be like a 12th man on somewhere. It'd just be a tall guy.
Fair.
That's it. Yeah. Like,
I think that's question to ask. That's the question to ask. Would more players from the 90s excel in today's game?
No.
Or would more players from today excel in the 90s game?
Could you imagine how winded those motherfuckers would be trying to
But see, that's exactly it. We're like, Steph Curry could get by because he can shoot the lights out, guaranteed. But then you start to go down that depth chart to, like, the third guy, and they would get murdered in the 90s. Like, and so that's
But
where
how
I
much
think
more
it's-
would you need than
you were
Steph?
talking about the 72 and 10 Warriors, like the third guy down was still shooting fucking lights out. Like there's a reason why Golden State was what they were in their prime, because they reinvented how to score in the game. They were like, hey, we could get more points if we just shoot from further out. Like, we don't have to be big. We don't have to fucking wrestle underneath. We could just stand way out here where nobody comes and just fucking start lighting it up. That's did
it. That's all it took to win like a couple of titles. No big deal. That was all it was. But
before
we get off this, I want to. So Scott, you're saying that if the 72 and 10 Warriors played the 90s Bulls in 90s rules, the Warriors would win.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I don't think. I think they're just
Jordan would. We got Scott to say that Jordan would lose. Jordan would be bested.
But Jordan is just one guy. Like, you're talking about the entire teams playing each other, and
you're taking all the fun out of it for me, Scott. With this
I
rationale.
know.
Like,
I know. That's not what you're. I know
that.
That's not what you're looking for. But I mean, it's true. Like, every generation, the athletes just become better. So just on that, just pure athletic standpoint, not taking into effect any rules, you're just like, every generation, you're just like, yeah, they could play backwards because they would be able to adjust to the rules because they're better athletes. Like, that's it.